I'm Grace, and I read The Never King, so you don't have to. The Never King is book 1 of the Vicious Lost Boys series by Nikki St. Crowe. It is a dark romance reverse harem retelling of Peter Pan and the Lost Boys. So say that 5 times fast. It's set first in the United States of America, and then in the fantasy world of Neverland, which is an island full of hot fae, apparently. The island is split in half, and half of it is Peter Pan's half, and his half is like losing all life and vitality as every year goes by. But more on that later. Main characters are Winnie, Peter Pan, and his gaggle of lost boys, hot men. Winnie comes from a long line of women who all absolutely lose their marbles as soon as they turn 18. Peter Pan is a previously immortal fae man who chain smokes cigarettes and can't figure out why he feels like shit all the time. Perhaps the cigarettes, perhaps because he's losing his fae power. Who's to know? And his gaggle of lost boys are just a bunch of his hot frat boy vibes gaggle of friends. Winnie rings in her 18th birthday by having some dirty times with the local quarterback. She is very unsatisfied with the encounter, and she goes home and finds her mom screaming, crying, throwing up, locking all the doors, prattling on about how the Dark One is gonna come and kidnap her daughter. Winnie writes this off as her mom going insane and prepares for her own pending insanity that's supposed to come when she turns 18. She's like, oh, well, it's coming for me anyway. Turns out mom was right. Peter Pan breaks into the house, proceeds to try to kidnap Winnie. This is ridiculous because she told him she was just going to go with him anyway because she figured she is just losing her mind. But he knocks her out anyway and takes her back to Neverland. They tie her up and leave her in a room immediately, guarded by 2 of the hot lost boys. They basically tell her that generations back in her family was the original Wendy. She facilitated Peter Pan's shadow being stolen. And so they presume that through genetic telekinesis, the whereabouts of the shadow have been passed down from generation to generation of the women in this family. So the shadow was the root of some of Peter Pan's fae power. As soon as she gets to the island, all of the boys are immediately salivating over her like a dog on a hot day. Winnie's not even mad about being kidnapped because her life back there was kind of shit anyway. And now she's just on an island with a bunch of hot guys salivating over her. She gets to quick work S-ing and F-ing her way through the entire group. Good for her, honestly. At some point between all the S-ing and F-ing, they tell her that the reason that she was brought to the island was because Peter Pan, his weird theory about the genetic telekinesis that occurs between all the women in their family. And despite the fact that he has tried this method of extracting the location of the shadow from every single generation and it never worked, and they always went insane and they always had mental health problems for the rest of their lives, he's tried it again with every single one. So basically, he's gonna have his homegirl from the other side of the island who has these psychic powers come and rifle through Winnie's brain to see where she's hiding the information about the shadow. This is going to happen in a few days under a certain phase of the moon, and for some reason they came and kidnapped her early. I have no idea why. I guess so they'd have time for all the S-ing and F-ing. I don't know. So it's a big to-do. The girl comes from the other side of the island. She starts rifling through Winnie's brain. It's very painful, as you could imagine. And a lot of the boys have developed feelings for her, so they don't want to watch the same thing happen to her as it happened to all of the matriarchs in her family, and they end up putting a stop to the ritual. It's about fucking time. While she's recovering from this weird magical lobotomy they just tried to give her, she has a premonition of where the shadow has been concealed back at her home in the United States of America. So I guess the genetic telekinesis did work. So the whole group of them rushes back to her mother's house to retrieve the shadow from this old family heirloom trunk that's been there the whole time. Turns out though, when they get there, that homegirl from the other side of the island, she got there first with one of her right-hand men. And this whole time she's been secretly working against Peter Pan as an op. She said she was going through the brains of these women psychically. She was really just going in there and scrambling shit around and causing lifelong problems for them. Lucky for mom, there's 5 fit, attractive men here to take care of the problem. the right-hand man of crazy homegirl from across the island, and they bury his freshly deceased body in the backyard. Mom, of course, wants Winnie to stay back home with her because she's been crippling concerned about her this whole time, but Winnie is not going to give up all this S-ing and F-ing on this tropical island. Who would? So she tries to convince Mom to come back with them to the island to live forever, but again, the S-ing and F-ing happening in the same house, and you're inviting your mom to this frat house to come live with us? No. But Mom says no, because apparently this whole altercation and all of these reveals and learning what really happened somehow cured her of this lifetime of mental illness, and she decides to stay in the United States of America by herself while her daughter goes to the mystical, magical realm of Neverland. The end. Was this good? No. Did I finish it? Obviously. Did I buy the sequel with my husband's credit card immediately after I finished it? I did. If you like this plot summary, give it a like and give me a follow. And you can also check out my podcast, Read It and Screech, where I tell my sister these cliff notes and the cringiest quotes. Streaming on all platforms.